Yo, what is up guys? It's Pedro here, and in today's video I will be talking about the Washington Commanders signing free agent guard Trai Turner to a 1-year, $3 million deal. I'll talk about why I think it is a great move for the Washington Commanders. We'll talk about if he will start or will it be Wes Schweitzer or someone else, and we'll talk about how this affects the Washington Commanders 2023 compensatory pick. So if you guys are new, make sure to subscribe for Washington and NFL content on the road to 7,500 subscribers, less than 100 away. So please help me get there. Also hit that like button and turn on those notifications. It really does help out the channel. Also, go ahead and follow the Twitter. Link is right in the description. Now, let's get right into the video. And I know the Commanders jokes are going to come in, and I get it. I know some people are upset with them. You know, they continue to bring in former Carolina Panthers or former Buffalo Bills. But honestly, I'm fine with this. Trai Turner is a solid football player. You're getting him on a really good deal, and I am fine with him being a former Carolina Panthers player. So I'll read the full tweet right here from Adam Schefter. He said, Washington is signing former Steelers free agent guard Trai Turner to a 1-year, $3 million deal. Per source, Turner previously played for Ron Rivera in Carolina. He is a 5-time Pro Bowler, and I believe all 5 of those times was under Ron Rivera. So similar to Andrew Norwell, 2 guards that played really well for Carolina, got paid, didn't play as well, and now are reuniting in Washington. I honestly really love this move because at the very worst, like the worst, possible scenario, obviously, is if he gets hurt. But I'm like, realistically, is that he doesn't win the starting job and he's a backup, and he's a good backup, because this guy's been starting for basically his whole career since like 2014, 2015, he's been a starter pretty much every single game he's played. So, he's probably going to win the job. Let's keep it real. I love Wes Schweitzer, but I think Trai Turner is coming here thinking he's going to get the job, and he probably will, especially, it's not going to be that much of an adjustment for him because he knows the system. He knows John Matsko, but at the very worst, even if he loses the job to Wes Schweitzer or Sadiq Charles or Chris Paul, he's going to be there and be one of the best backups in the league. And it's not like you're paying him starter money. You're paying him a 1-year, $3 million deal, and that's like the max. Again, when the deals come out originally, this is the agent presenting it. So I would say it's probably more like a 1-year, $2 million deal, something like that. Like the cap hit is probably more like $1.5 to $2.5 million instead of $3 million. So it's even less than what's reported right now. So again, I think that at the very worst, he's a backup guard, a very good backup guard for you, who's good in the locker room, knows the system, and knows some of his former teammates. But what I think will happen is that he will be starting for us at right guard. So then your starting lineup looks like Charles Leno at left tackle, Andrew Norwell at left guard, Chase Roulier at center, and then Trai Turner at right guard and Sam Cosmi at right tackle. And then your depth is looking amazing because you have Cornelius Lucas, one of the best swing tackles in the game, as your backup to left or right tackle. Then you also have Sadiq Charles, Chris Paul, and Wes Schweitzer as your backups, and even Tyler Larson as well. So you have so much depth on that offensive line, and Sadiq Charles can play guard and tackle. So if one of the starters goes down at tackle and another starter goes down, then you have Cornelius Lucas, and you can have Sadiq Charles go in there a little bit. It's not ideal, but depth on the offensive line is very important, and Trai Turner is going to be a good player for us. As long as he's healthy, he's a solid starter on this league. This is from Brad Spielberger. He says, Commanders don't mess around up front. Solid signing, one of the better remaining free agent guards, and it was somewhat of a position need. Like, I would have been fine with Wes Schweitzer or Sadiq Charles battling it out for that spot, and whoever wins. But now, it's still probably going to be a competition, but Trai Turner has the leg up. He's likely going to win that job, and you have Wes Schweitzer, who can play left guard, right guard, or even center if any of those guys goes down. And I love that because, he's a great backup, and he could be a starter, probably a low tier to a mid tier starter, but I think he's better suited for a backup because, he's just good at all those, different spots. And he honestly is more valuable as a backup because he can play those 3 different spots than he is as a starter because, the guy behind him might not be able to play all 3 of those spots. So I really, really like this move. Brandon Thorne, who's kind of a O-line expert, O-line scout, he says, really like how the Washington offensive line depth chart looks now. Good competition at guard likely ensures a quality backup there. Solid at offensive tackle and center with depth. Good coaching. Quietly an underrated unit entering camp into 2022. And, I'll show you guys some clips here. Hopefully it doesn't get copyright. If it does, then I'll probably have to edit this out, but let's see. So you guys can see here just a couple plays, and obviously he's going to be showing you guys good plays. There are some bad plays, of course. He hasn't been elite, but I think his PFF grade last year was like a 70, which is pretty solid. And the year before with the Chargers, it wasn't great. Like, I think that was his worst year with the Chargers, but before that was a 5-time Pro Bowler, was a pretty good guard. He's going to come in there, step in for right guard. So, your starting lineup looks pretty nice. It looks pretty nice, and you have good depth now as well with Sadiq Charles, who is valuable because, he's not amazing, but he can play a ton of different positions. He can play left tackle, left guard, and right tackle, and Sadiq Charles can play 3 different spots on the offensive line. So definitely like him. I mean, he's not too old either. And let's see, he's played since 2014, relatively healthy for most of his career besides 2020 with the Chargers, and that was his worst year, so maybe he was playing hurt, who knows. But again, this is, and another underrated thing is I guess, you're switching starters around a lot, which, on the offensive line, which some people might say, well, it might take them a little bit of time to, get acclimated to each other. And that might be a fair point, but I think it won't take as long as some people think because, obviously Charles Leno, Chase Roulier, and Sam Cosmi all played with each other before. And they're kind of all over the place in terms of none of them played right next to each other. But Andrew Norwell, he already is familiar with this offense. It changed a little bit from when he was playing because Scott Turner's the OC, but still pretty similar. And same thing with Trai Turner, but also John Matsko was the coach in Carolina, and he's the coach here. So I think they're going to know what to expect. They're both, I heard great things about Trai Turner in terms of his leadership ability. So I think, that in that sense, it won't take that long to acclimate because both of these guys already know the system. They already know pretty much the coaching staff and Scott Turner, Ron Rivera, and John Matsko. And, we still have 3 starters from last year. And if Wes Schweitzer wins a job, well, he played with Sam Cosmi, I believe, at some points last year. He played with, next to Charles Leno, I think. They're somewhat accustomed to each other, so I don't think it'll be a big deal. And in terms of compensatory pick, so as long as the deal, because I think it's once the clock hits 4 today, then those deals become, if you sign someone, it doesn't affect the compensatory pick. So I think the deal will officially be done after 4, I assume so. It would be pretty stupid to sign someone right before the deadline for the compensatory pick. So this way, we can sign really any more players we sign don't affect our comp picks in terms of Tim Settle leaving, Brandon Sheriff, maybe a couple others as well. So we'll get a 3rd round pick from, Brandon Sheriff, very likely. And Tim Settle, we might get a 5th or 6th round comp pick. But let's say we did this last week, then maybe that comp pick gets erased. So this was smart by Ron Rivera, and I expect more moves to come soon. I think Landon Collins possibly could return for pretty cheap. I think some other deals could be made, but this is a good move. At the very, very minimum, it improves our depth a ton, but I think it'll be more than that because I think Trai Turner will be a solid starter for us at the right guard position, and that allows you to have Wes Schweitzer move all the way around, left guard, center, and right guard. And I think our offensive line is pretty similar to what it was last year. You look at left tackle, it's the same, but maybe Charles Leno coming into his 2nd year in Washington will be slightly better. Left guard, you go from Eric Flowers to Andrew Norwell, and last year, Eric Flowers is a better player, but I talked about this. I am very, very confident that as long as Andrew Norwell is healthy, he will have a better season this year than Eric Flowers did last year or this year, because he is in a familiar system with a better offensive line around him, with offensive line coach he's familiar with, center. It's going to be better this year because we're going to, Chase Roulier is expected to come back, and I believe like training camp, and he'll play a full season instead of playing like 6 games. And then right guard, you go from Brandon Sheriff to Trai Turner. Definitely a downgrade, but it's not as much of a downgrade from going to, let's say, Brandon Sheriff to like Sadiq Charles or Wes Schweitzer. And then at right tackle, Cosme, he played half the games last year, so having him in a full season will be an upgrade. Also, I think he'll get better as well, so that'll be even better. So I think the offensive line, you can argue, is better than it was last year, at least pretty close to the same. So I think they did a good job rebuilding this offensive line, switching a ton of pieces around. They got good depth now. This is a good move. I'm very, very high on this move, and I don't really care that he was a former Carolina Panther. So thank you guys for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, please hit that like button, subscribe if you guys are new, and turn on those notifications so you never miss a video. Peace, guys.